There have been many important figures that have made great change to the world, but there was one that some would consider to be the most important. A symbol of revolution, the puppet of a greater force, and simply, the man with a crowbar. What made this man so important? What happened to him in the 2 decades after the Resonance Cascade? And why did the G-Man and his employers have such an interest in him? Here we explore in the lore and story behind the right man in the wrong place, Dr. Gordon Freeman. Way back before the Earth fell prey to the Combine Empire, a young man grew up in Seattle, Washington. As he studied, he discovered an interest in the world around him and how it worked. Over the years, he took inspiration from the likes of Stephen Hawking and Albert Einstein. These men had given so much to the scientific community, and with this need to understand the universe around him, he followed in their footsteps and began the work to acquire a career in theoretical physics. Through his hard work and determination, Gordon managed to get into a program at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. While there, Gordon made a strong impression on his peers and professors. One of his professors was Dr. Isaac Kleiner. This man was a well-known name in the scientific community after his research and documentation on teleportation, and this bond between them would later grow into a much stronger relationship. While Gordon's time at MIT is mostly undocumented, it should be noted that his thesis was titled Observation of Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen Entanglement on Supraquantum Structures by Induction through Nonlinear Transuranic Crystals of Extremely Long Wavelength Pulse from Mode-Locked Source Array. Although this title is a mouthful, in essence, Gordon's work studied how matter moved through objects without coming into physical contact with them, teleportation. After continued persistence, Gordon graduated from MIT, and without any known dependents, he moved to Austria and became a part of the Institute for Experimental Physics in Innsbruck. Here, they worked on similar research he had dedicated his studies to, the study of teleportation, and over time, he helped them with their research and even observed a series of teleportation experiments. But with this institute rooted in academia instead of actual scientific advancement, Gordon became discouraged by the lack of development and hands-on experience, and so he looked for a new place that would progress his career in theoretical physics. As he believed he needed hands-on experience to develop his understanding, Gordon applied to well-renowned science companies, and one of these was the Black Mesa Corporation, a government-owned research facility that worked on cutting-edge scientific advancements on a daily basis. As a company of this magnitude, only the best and brightest of applicants were given the opportunity to work here, and in the window of time that Gordon had applied, another hopeful scientist had also piqued the interest of the administration team, Dr. Judith Mossman. Although both of these applicants would have been a welcome addition to the facility, Gordon had an advantage. While Gordon had moved from MIT to study in Austria, his professor, Dr. Isaac Kleiner, had also left MIT and secured himself a job at Black Mesa, where he now worked as one of the core members of the anomalous materials team. With an already established positive relationship with Gordon and his additional experience at the Institute for Experimental Physics, Gordon was offered the position at the top-secret Black Mesa research facility, and he accepted. The Black Mesa Research Facility conducted top-secret research and experiments, and as such, the employees here were told that they had to live on the grounds for security purposes. So, when Dr. Gordon Freeman arrived, he was given accommodation in room 309 of the Level 3 dormitories in the north wing of the complex. As a Level 3 employee, Gordon was also given access to all of the Level 3 regions of Black Mesa. In this new role, Gordon was assigned to the Anomalous Materials team in Sector C, where this department spent their days experimenting with quantum research as well as nuclear and subatomic work. Their most prominent work featured an anti-mass spectrometer that was used to analyze exotic samples secured by another team. Unknown to many, this team had actually been tasked with entering a place outside of Earth, the border world of Zen, and on their exploration of this hostile land, they brought back crystals for the Anomalous Materials team. It is unknown just how trusted Gordon was in his team to participate in this work, but it is known that one of his roles was as a materials handler of these exotic samples, a small but important role in this department. As time passed, Gordon grew as a valued member of the Anomalous Materials team, where he met the people that would change his life. He already knew Dr. Isaac Kleiner from his days as a student, and their relationship continued to blossom. He also met Dr. Eli Vance, another incredibly smart man that had just had a little girl, Alex. In his exploration of Black Mesa, Gordon also met and became friends with a security guard, Barney Calhoun. Over time, these relationships grew where they essentially became a family. Working at Black Mesa was what Gordon had hoped it would be. He learned and experienced new things every day, and in his downtime, he spent time with his friends. On some occasions, Dr. Kleiner would lock himself out of his lab, and so Gordon and Barney would race through the ventilation ducts of the facility to see who could unlock the door first. While Dr. Kleiner was known for his forgetfulness, Gordon also had a reputation for arriving late, and as time went on, it just became a joke within their department. His work was great, he even won Employee of the Month at one point, but his timekeeping was not. Gordon had settled in well and grown in this team, but change was on the way. On an unspecified date in the early 2000s, some believe this to have been May 16th, the Anomalous Materials team were given a crystal sample, GG-3883, to analyze with the anti-mass spectrometer, but this one was different. They were told that the administrator of Black Mesa, Dr. Wallace Breen, had gone to great lengths to acquire it, and he told the Anomalous Materials team that they needed to achieve a conclusive analysis of the sample, even if it meant going outside of the standard testing parameters to achieve it. This order immediately put immense stress and pressure on the Anomalous Materials team, where Eli, Isaac, Arnie, and the many others got to work. They had been used to working a certain way for so long, and there was always a risk that came with going outside of the standard protocols, but Dr. Breen had ordered them to do this, so they proceeded. There was also a shady government-looking man wandering the facility, putting those he encountered on edge. In their efforts to complete this task, the Anomalous Materials team increased the power of the anti-mass spectrometer well above what they had used before. The additional power needed for this machine and other pieces of equipment led to issues across the whole of Black Mesa, where machinery malfunctioned and systems crashed. This morning of stress had set the whole team behind on the experiment, but Gordon missed it all. He was running late. At 8:47 AM, Gordon began his regular journey from his dormitory to the Sector C test labs on the Black Mesa transit system. Upon finally arriving in the labs, he was mocked by his co-workers for arriving late, but he was also informed that the experiment was running behind, and they were still figuring out some kinks. As scheduled to be a materials handler for the experiment, Gordon put on his protective, hazardous environmental suit, and on his way down to the test chamber, he even visited the kitchen and for some reason turned on the microwave. This action would begin a grudge that would last for the next 20 years. Upon arrival in the observation deck of the test chamber, Gordon was updated on the situation by Isaac Kleiner and told to enter the test chamber where the stressful experiment would begin. Unknown to Gordon, his entire 27 years of life had led to this very moment that would change everything. Within the chamber, Gordon followed the instructions of his team in the observation bay, and as standard practice, he activated the anti-mass spectrometer and waited for the sample to come up from the ground. In his mind, this was a standard day. Following this, he pushed the crystal sample into the beam of the machine. Then, everything changed. As the crystal hit the beam of the anti-mass spectrometer, it shattered and flooded the chamber with exotic energy, and this eruption had cataclysmic side effects. All around him, Gordon watched as particles and violent bursts of energy struck out into the chamber. Unknown to him, this disaster had formed a resonance cascade where a hole had been ripped in space, where a bridge had been formed between Earth and the border world of Zen. This bridge in turn allowed the hostile flora and fauna of the border world to enter Earth in an attempt to claim it for themselves. In this chaos, Gordon suddenly found himself in darkness, and that was when he realized he had been teleported to Zen, and he saw up close the other life forms that existed out there in the universe. Before he could be attacked by these creatures, he was pulled back into the test chamber, and his new journey began. I'm just popping in here quickly to tell you about today's sponsor, Manta Sleep. Some of my older viewers may recognize that I've worked with these guys before, and I've decided to work with them again because I really like their sleep masks. They believe that we should all nap more, anywhere, anytime, and I agree. I've been working on this video for around 25 hours so far, and my sleeping pattern is completely off. But with these sleep masks, I've been able to sleep at any time in the day, thanks to their 100% blackout sleep masks, and they're super comfortable too. In their range, they offer so many different types. This time, I tried out the cool mask, which honestly helped me fall asleep so quickly, and I felt refreshed the next day. They also offer masks such as the Pro Mask, Silk Mask, Aroma Mask, and Weighted Mask. There are so many options, and I'm sure there will be a perfect mask for you. Our bodies are wired to nap, so if you want a better sleep, anywhere, anytime, then click my link in the description below and use the code SCARION on checkout to get 10% off your order. Thank you to Manta Sleep for sponsoring this video. Now back to the lore behind Gordon Freeman. As Gordon recovered from the teleportation, he looked around him and saw just how much damage the Resonance Cascade had caused. As he navigated the Sector C test labs, he discovered the bodies of the victims of this catastrophe. These people had been his friends and co-workers, but luckily, he found Isaac, who had been injured, and Eli, who was trying to help him. Eli explained that the communication system had gone down and there was no way to call for help, and so he asked Gordon to reach the surface and bring back reinforcements. Here, he, just like the other people in this facility, worked his way to any exit he could find, but only minutes into his journey, he came upon a security guard firing at a scientist who had somehow merged with an alien creature. It was here that he realized that an alien invasion had begun and he had to be ready. So, Gordon picked up the first weapon he saw, a crowbar, and continued on his journey to escape the Black Mesa research facility. Without a functioning trans system, Gordon took to the halls and vents he knew well. In these dangerous, claustrophobic corridors, Gordon found himself continuously fighting for his life against the creatures he encountered. Head crabs, barnacles, and vortigons to name a few. Each creature was different and more dangerous than the last. But the HEV suit he had worn to protect himself from the dangers of the anti-mass spectrometer, as well as his ability to teach himself how to fire any weapon he encountered, kept him safe. With the ability to fight off these forces, Gordon came across his peers that had barricaded themselves in safe locations where he helped them when he could. And then he heard of a military force that had arrived at Black Mesa to rescue them, the Hazardous Environmental Combat Unit. But when Gordon eventually encountered them, he was surprised to see them gun down the scientists instead of helping them. Then he realized they were here to not only take out the invading aliens, but also any witness to this event. So, going forward, Gordon had to fight against both of these hostile forces. On his path, Gordon killed many of the HECU as he navigated the sewers, the surface, and even the underground rail, to the point where this military force openly sought out Gordon by name just so they could have their vengeance on this scientist with a crowbar that had killed many of their own. Although he had turned into a warrior, Gordon still was a scientist and learned from his peers he met along the way that there was a science team hiding out in the Lambda complex that maybe knew of a way to reverse the Resonance Cascade. Following instructions, Gordon launched a rocket with a satellite attached to it that the scientists believed would close the link between Earth and Zen, and with this complete, he continued his journey towards Sector F. Following additional altercations with the HECU, one of which led to his capture and imprisonment in a trash compactor, Gordon discovered a secret part of Black Mesa where he learned the facility had actively brought back creatures from Zen and experimented with them. They in part had been responsible for this incident. Throughout this journey through the bowels of Black Mesa, Gordon had noticed a man just out of reach watching him from afar. From his emotionless stare, it appeared he was just there to watch him and not help. Finally, Gordon arrived at the Lambda complex and was told by the remaining team here that the reason the rift between Earth and Zen had not closed was because a powerful force had kept it open from the other side. As Gordon had truly shown his ability to adapt and survive in unwinnable situations against both human and alien forces, he accepted the challenge to enter a portal to Zen to kill the creature on the other side so that the rift would close. After arriving in Zen, Gordon fought past the hostile flora and fauna and eventually came upon the lair of the Nylanth, the creature that had ordered its entire army to invade Earth, and after a brutal fight, the creature died where its hold over Earth was released. Gordon then once again found himself teleported, but not to a place he recognized. He found himself standing in front of the shady figure he had noticed watching him from a distance through his whole journey since this catastrophe had begun. The figure, the G-Man, explained to Gordon that he had been watching him and he and his employers were impressed with his limitless potential. He had survived against the odds in impossible situations and they wanted him to work for them. Due to the secretive nature of the G-Man and his employers, Gordon still had no idea what he was being recruited for or what he would have to do, but still, the G-Man gave him a choice: join them or be placed in a fight he had no chance of winning. And so, Gordon accepted the G-Man's offer and entered a green portal into nothingness. Out of nothing, Gordon found himself still within stasis, a timeless void outside of reality. Then, the G-Man appeared once again. It seemed that the job he had been hired for was about to start. As he listened to the G-Man, he was told to rise and shine from his rest, and that his hour had come. After this, Gordon found himself somehow on a train entering a city. Confused, he left the train and saw the director of Black Mesa on a large television screen, welcoming the occupants of this train into City 17. Something was very different about the world, but he could not figure it out. Unknown to Gordon, the moment between entering the green portal and arriving on this train had seemed like mere seconds, when in reality, it had been 2 decades. The G-Man had simply kept him in stasis and frozen his conscious thought. As Gordon navigated the train station, he was ordered to follow some sort of police officer after he had attempted to enter a gate that had closed on him. After following the officer into an office, he took off his mask and revealed himself to be Barney, his friend from Black Mesa. Following this, Barney began a video call to Dr. Isaac Kleiner, and it was a relief to see that they had both survived the Black Mesa incident. Over the next few hours, Gordon learned that he had been gone for much longer than he had thought, and after his actions during the Resonance Cascade, he had, in a way, become revered as a legend. In his absence, the world had been taken over by the Combine, a multi-dimensional alien empire that had used the side effects of the Resonance Cascade to conquer Earth in a mere 7 hours. After escaping the train station, Gordon made his way to Dr. Kleiner's lab, a secret resistance base against this alien force, and on his way there, he met Alex Vance, the daughter of Eli. But now, she was no longer a child. She was an adult. The Resistance had been waiting for a sign to fight back against the Combine, and they believed this to be Gordon's sudden return. After arriving at Kleiner's lab, he was given back his HEV suit that Isaac had kept and refined over the years. To jumpstart this revolution and to put Gordon's brain and brawn to use, Isaac decided that they needed to send him to another resistance base to work with Dr. Eli Vance, who had also survived the Black Mesa incident. But to get there, they needed to teleport Gordon and Alex. As trouble appeared to follow Gordon, the teleportation attempt failed on his turn, where he was propelled through space into various locations across the wasteland. Unfortunately, one of these locations was the office of Dr. Wallace Breen, who, upon eye contact, instantly recognized him as the scientist that had disappeared during the Black Mesa incident. In Gordon's absence, Wallace had allied himself with the Combine and had become an enemy of the Resistance. And on a more interesting note, the Vortigaunt species who Gordon had fought during the Black Mesa incident had also joined the Resistance and saw Gordon as the person that would free everyone from the Combine reign. Wallace believed that Gordon could be a threat to this new way of life, and so he alerted the Combine of this potential threat, where a manhunt began. After the teleportation sequence ended, Gordon found himself outside of Dr. Kleiner's lab, where he discovered that he would have to make his way to Eli's lab on foot. Luckily, Barney had somehow managed to save his crowbar, and after handing it to him, he went off. As the symbol for revolution, Gordon met many Resistance members on his path, where they all regarded him as the free man, the person that would help the Resistance reclaim their planet from the Combine. The man with the symbol of the rebellion on his chest, the Lambda sign. After many battles, Gordon eventually arrived at Black Mesa East, the home of Dr. Eli Vance, but unknown to them all, there was a spy in their midst, Dr. Judith Mossman. Judith was aware of Gordon. She also knew that she had lost out on the position at Black Mesa to him, and in some aspects still held a grudge. Judith had a line of contact with Wallace Breen, and as Gordon reunited with his old friend Eli, she let the Combine know where Gordon was. Shortly after, the Combine raided Black Mesa East, but to Gordon's luck, he managed to escape, but Eli was captured. And so, Gordon traveled the wasteland to the Combine's infamous prison of Nova Prospekt to rescue him with Alex. This rescue attempt was unsuccessful as Judith managed to teleport herself and Eli away into a secure Combine location. To make this situation even worse, the teleporter was incredibly unstable. With no moment to spare, Alex recharged the teleporter and they escaped Nova Prospekt just before the unstable teleporter exploded, where it took out the prison with it. As Alex and Gordon arrived in Dr. Kleiner's lab in City 17, he told them that the destruction of Nova Prospekt had occurred a week before, and that they must have been stuck in a slow teleport loop. The destruction of a major Combine stronghold and the believed death of 2 strong Resistance members had led the Resistance to start the Uprising. If Nova Prospekt could be taken down, then other Combine strongholds also could. As Alex and Gordon believed that Eli had been sent to the Citadel, the home of Wallace Breen and the center for all Combine activity in the region, Gordon led the Resistance to the Citadel with the help of Barney as they took back the city, block by block. After approaching the Citadel, Gordon entered it and allowed himself to be captured just so he could reach the office of Wallace Breen. Here, he was reunited with Wallace, Judith, Eli, and a newly captured Alex. Wallace appeared to be aware of some sort of control that loomed over Gordon, and that his skill set had essentially been used by them. Of course, they were both aware of the G-Man and his mysterious practices. After a confrontation between Judith and Wallace, Gordon was set free, where he chased down Wallace in his goal to free humanity from the Combine's reign. During this showdown, Gordon managed to destroy the Dark Fusion Reactor as Wallace opened a portal to the Combine overworld. The destruction of this reactor had a violent side effect where energy surged from the top of the tower. As this wave of energy came towards Gordon and Alex, time stopped and the G-Man appeared once again. It appeared that Gordon had somehow done exactly what the G-Man had wanted him to do, and as he had completed his task, he was once again plucked out of reality. The G-Man explained that he was impressed by his work and he had received tempting offers for his services. This time, the G-Man did not give Gordon the illusion of choice, and instead placed him back into stasis, where he hoped to keep him for his next task. In the darkness of stasis, Gordon woke up to find members of the Vortigaunt species breaking him out of the G-Man's prison. As they worked to complete their task, the G-Man entered, but he was unable to stop them. Then, Gordon awoke on Earth again. This time, not a lot of time had passed, and he was reunited with Alex. Over their adventure together, they had grown extremely close, and they would have many more battles ahead. The destruction of the Dark Fusion Reactor at the top of the Citadel had left the entire structure in meltdown, and it had also cut off the Combine's connection to Earth. This is what the Resistance needed, but the Combine were also waiting for the Citadel to explode so that this energy surge would send a distress message to the Combine overworld and begin the formation of a superportal. With his aim to stop this from happening, Gordon re-entered the Citadel with Alex and secured the core of the Citadel, just so they and the refugees still stuck in City 17 would have enough time to escape the city before its inevitable explosion. And during their time in the Citadel, Alex and Gordon discovered the coordinates of the Combine overworld and a message from Judith Mossman on their system, which they stole. Then, in a race against time, they escaped the city as it exploded. With the fall of City 17, the Resistance had moved to another base out in the wasteland, White Forest, and with the information they had stolen from the Citadel, Alex and Gordon made their way there to play their part in the closing of the superportal. But the Combine were aware of the information they had stolen and attempted to stop them on multiple occasions, one of which led to a brutal assault on Alex. But to her luck, the Vortigaunt were close by and helped them on their journey. Eventually, Gordon and Alex arrived at White Forest and helped defend it against desperate Combine attacks as the Resistance scientists developed a rocket with an attached relay device to close the forming superportal. effectively mirroring the actions of Gordon during the Resonance Cascade, when he had launched a rocket to sever the link between Earth and Zen. One of the scientists working on this rocket was Dr. Arne Magnusson, who still remembered his last moment with Gordon before the Resonance Cascade. The moment when Gordon had microwaved his casserole to the point of explosion. But Gordon had led the resistance to this point, and so Arne in a way forgave him for the casserole incident. In a tense fight, Gordon and the resistance fought against the Striders and Hunters that breached White Forest's perimeter. These creatures had just one goal: to destroy the rocket. At this point, Gordon had survived so many impossible situations, and he once again used his skills to fight against these creatures and gave the scientists the time they needed to complete the rocket. After another victory, Gordon, Alex, Eli, and Arne launched the rocket and watched as it flew towards the forming superportal. In this moment, Eli took Gordon aside and thanked him for all of his work, and told him that he could not have been prouder of him even if he was his own son. As the rocket hit the superportal, it closed and gave humanity their chance to completely reclaim their planet from the leftover Combine forces on Earth. These forces were now cut off from the Combine overworld and had to rely on each other without backup. Although the superportal had closed, the Resistance still had urgent issues they had to deal with, one of these being the rescue of Dr. Judith Mossman from the north after she had discovered the Borealis, a potentially extremely powerful piece of technology that could aid the Resistance in their mission to completely rid the Combine from the planet. So, Gordon and Alex made their way to a hangar, accompanied by Eli, who wanted to wave them off. Unknown to them, the Combine had not given up and were desperate to stop any more Resistance wins. So, 2 Combine advisors struck the hangar and attacked the trio. To their luck, a Resistance robot, Dog, dropped in from the ceiling and helped to stop this attack. But there were still casualties. They were 1 person down, but they did not have time to mourn the lost. There was still a mission to complete in the north, and Gordon was the man to do it. The man with a crowbar. Once a simple scientist that wanted to explore the universe, Gordon Freeman essentially got what he wanted, just not in the way he expected to. The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference, and Gordon truly did. Over his 20-year disappearance, the various factions he had encountered during the Black Mesa incidents all remembered him for different things. The scientists saw him as a savior. The Vortigaunt saw him as the man with a crowbar running at them through the steel corridors, and the survivors of the Black Mesa incident who later joined the Resistance saw him as a symbol of revolution. In a way, he was all 3 of these. Throughout Gordon's journey, the G-Man had taken a keen interest in his actions, where his choices during the Resonance Cascade essentially acted as a job interview where his skills would be used in the war to come. But following interference from the Vortigaunt, Gordon broke away from the G-Man's influence and control to the point where he and his employers had to look elsewhere for someone that could take his place, a new pawn for their plans. As of now, it is unknown what happened to Dr. Gordon Freeman. Maybe one day we will know, but what we know for sure is that whatever he does and wherever he goes, his crowbar will be with him, and he will fight to the death against the Combine Empire as the G-Man watches from a distance. Dr. Gordon Freeman is the face of the Half-Life series, and since I began this lore series on Half-Life and Portal, I have had constant requests to dedicate a video to this absolute hero. I took my time, but I got there. I understand that this is mostly the story of Half-Life and the sequels, as Gordon is the main character of the series, but I am hoping I was able to give you an insight into something you may have missed. Gordon is an iconic character and absolutely one of my favourites. I did my best in this episode to tell Gordon's lore and story without just naming each plot point in the story, so I did condense certain parts of the story to keep it more on Gordon and how his actions affected the world. I am also working on a very detailed video on the events of Half-Life, which is coming soon. This was the lore and story behind Dr. Gordon Freeman in Half-Life. If you enjoyed this episode, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like and a comment on your thoughts. The algorithm hasn't really been helpful lately, and that would help. If you would like to stay up to date with what I do outside of YouTube and fancy some behind the scenes content, then follow my Twitter and Instagram. And an extra special thank you to my gold tier patrons and channel members: Jonas, Lewis, Queen Arby, Fluffy the Dragon, Chicken Guy 791, Ruben Mendoza, and this week we are welcoming Mosvalit, who just signed up as a gold tier patron. If you want to help support the channel, then there is a link in the description below. I do have tiers where you get access to scripts, screenshots, and even episodes early. And as always, thank you so much for the continued support. What did you think of this lore? Which is your favourite Half-Life game? And what would you like to see next? Let me know in the comments below. Now, Resistance member, enjoy your day. Bye.